He needs me, and honestly, I think you and I work better as friends. My wife treated our 5-year marriage like a mistake she could erase without regret, and she even admitted her parents agreed with her. We were at our anniversary dinner, 5 years to the day since we got married, when Kavya dropped that bomb as casually as she ordered wine. The restaurant was crowded, candles lit on every table, couples celebrating their love while mine disintegrated over grilled salmon. She didn't even wait for the waiter to leave. My first thought was that I had misheard, that the restaurant noise had distorted her words, but when I looked at her, her expression confirmed everything. She was serious, almost bored, as if she were canceling a magazine subscription instead of our marriage. Repeat that, I said slowly, putting my fork down on the plate. Kavya sighed as if I were a capricious child. Rohan, don't complicate this. Aryan called me 3 weeks ago. He's going through a tough time with his divorce from Sonia. He needs me, and honestly, I think you and I work better as friends. You and I work better as friends. 5 years of marriage reduced to that sentence. I looked around the restaurant for signs that this was a cruel joke. Hidden cameras, something. But there was nothing, except happy couples oblivious to my personal humiliation. Aryan, your ex-boyfriend, the same one who left you for another woman 6 years ago. That Aryan. Exactly, she said with a small smile. But now he's sorry. He's been sending flowers to my office every day for 2 weeks. He says he made the biggest mistake of his life by leaving me. And what about us, our marriage? Kavya shrugged. You were a good transition phase, Rohan. You helped me get over Aryan. But let's be honest, you never had that spark, that passion that Aryan has. You're stable, predictable, boring. A transition phase. 5 years reduced to a transition phase. I felt something cold settle in my chest, something familiar. It was the same feeling I had when I was 12 and discovered my best friend had been stealing money from my backpack for months. It wasn't immediate anger. It was something more calculated, more patient. Kavya continued as if she were describing weekend plans. Aryan, and I want to try again. I've already talked to my parents and they agree. They were never completely convinced about you. Anyway, they always thought I was too young when we got married. I took a sip of water more to control the trembling in my hands than out of thirst. And when did you decide all this? 3 weeks ago. As I said, since Aryan contacted me, at first I had doubts, but then I thought, why settle for less than I deserve, less than you deserve? I, who worked 60 hours a week as a civil engineer to pay for our house, our car, her yoga classes, her outings with friends, I was less than she deserved. The other diners probably thought we were a normal couple discussing vacation plans or what movie to see. They had no idea they were witnessing the end of my marriage. And I suppose you've already told Aryan yes. I said in a flat voice. Kavya nodded. In fact, he's waiting for me outside. I thought it would be easier if I told you here in public so you wouldn't make a scene. You thought of everything. Of course. I don't want to hurt you, Rohan, but I can't waste any more time either. I'm 32. If I want to have children with Aryan, I need to move fast. Children with Aryan. The same woman who had told me 6 months ago that she didn't want children yet, that we needed to establish ourselves more financially first. Now it turns out she just didn't want children with me. I leaned back in my chair and watched her. Really watched her for the first time in months. She was wearing a new dress I didn't recognize, more elaborate makeup than usual. Her hair styled the way she knew Aryan liked it. She hadn't gotten dressed up like this for me in over a year. She had planned this. Every detail, even the restaurant, public but not too intimate, perfect for a no-drama breakup. And what about the house? I said finally. Sell it, she said, without hesitation. We'll divide everything equally. My lawyer has already prepared the papers. Your lawyer? So you're already working with a lawyer. Kavya became impatient. Rohan, please, don't act like a victim. We both knew this marriage wasn't working. I knew that. That was news to me. But apparently, I had been living in a different reality these 5 years. The waiter returned with our main courses. Kavya waved him away. We're not hungry anymore, just the check. He caught the hint and disappeared quickly. So this is it, I said, 5 years ending over an anniversary dinner we're not even going to eat. I'm sorry it's like this, said Kavya without sounding sorry at all. But yes, this is it. You'll sign the divorce papers, right? I'm not going to fight over anything. I didn't want to make this ugly. I watched her take out her wallet, leave cash on the table, more than necessary for her half of the bill. I guess it was her way of staying in control until the end. I stood up without a word. Kavya appeared surprised. Where are you going? Home, I replied. Our home. Technically, it's still my home too, until I sign those papers. Rohan, Arian is outside. It would be awkward if perfect, I said, interrupting her. Then it will be awkward. I walked out of the restaurant without looking back. Outside, just as Kavya had said, was Arian leaning against a new Mercedes, probably bought with the divorce money from his first wife. He saw me and had the audacity to smile. No hard feelings, bro, he said, extending his hand, just taking back what was always mine. I stared at him until he awkwardly lowered his hand. I walked to my car, a used Honda I had bought 3 years ago because all my money went to the mortgage payment. As I drove home, I didn't feel the heartbreaking pain I probably should have. I didn't feel like crying or screaming. I just felt that calculated coldness, that patience I had perfected since I was a child. Kavya didn't know several things about me. She didn't know I never forget anything, especially not betrayals. She didn't know that when someone uses me, I wait, I watch, and when the right moment comes, I make sure they get exactly what they deserve. I got home. Our home with the garden I maintained every weekend, with the renovations I had done with my own hands. I sat in the empty living room and smiled. Kavya had made her first mistake by underestimating me. Soon she would find out exactly what kind of man she had decided to discard for her failed ex-boyfriend. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed in the living room reviewing every document we had together. The marriage, the mortgage, the bank accounts, everything. Kavya had been meticulous in planning her betrayal, but she had forgotten one crucial detail. The house was in my name only. When we bought it 3 years ago, she had bad credit from card debts she never mentioned until after we got married. The bank told me it would be easier to qualify with my name alone. She agreed because we needed the house quickly. At 6 in the morning, Kavya still hadn't returned. I assumed she was with Arian celebrating their reunion. I called my lawyer, a man named Kunal Varma, who had helped me with a work issue the previous year. Kunal, I need a quick, clean divorce. We met that same day in his office. I told him everything, every detail of the dinner, Kavya's exact words, Arian waiting outside like a taxi service. Kunal listened without interrupting, taking occasional notes. You're lucky, he said finally. The house is in your name only. You paid for the renovations. I even have the receipts for the materials. Perfect. And the bank accounts. Did she contribute anything significant to the marriage? Kavya stopped working 2 years ago. She said she wanted to focus on finding herself. Kunal smiled in a way that wasn't exactly friendly. Finding herself with your money. This is going to be easier than I thought. That afternoon, while Kunal prepared the papers, I received a message from Kavya. I'll be there tomorrow to get my things. Please don't make this difficult, I replied simply. I'll be here. I spent the rest of the day documenting everything. I photographed every piece of furniture I had bought, every appliance, every improvement I had made to the house. I found receipts I had saved for years, proof of every penny I had invested in our life together. The next day, Kavya arrived at 10 in the morning. Not alone. She brought Arian and her older brother Vihan, as if expecting me to cause trouble. The 3 of them walked into the house as if they had a right to be there. Rohan, said Kavya in that condescending voice she had perfected. I came for my clothes and some personal things. Of course, I replied calmly. Your personal things are fine, but nothing else leaves this house. Kavya frowned. What are you talking about? This is my house too, no? I said, showing her the deed. This house is in my name only. You didn't contribute to the down payment. You haven't made any mortgage payments. Technically, you've been my tenant for the last 3 years. Vihan stepped forward. You can't do that. You're married. Everything is both of yours. Kunal appeared at that moment. He had planned his entrance perfectly. In fact, he said as he walked in with his briefcase. In this state, properties acquired before marriage or in one person's name only are not automatically considered marital property. Who the hell are you? Arian asked. I'm Mr. Sharma's lawyer, and you are trespassing on private property. I suggest you take only Mrs. Sharma's personal belongings and leave. Kavya looked at me with something I had never seen in her eyes before. Fear. Rohan, we can talk about this civilly. We already talked. I said at the restaurant when you told me I was a transition phase. When you compared me unfavorably to him, I pointed to Arian, who had the decency to look uncomfortable. Kavya changed tactics. Fine, I'll take only my clothes, but I want half the value of the furniture. The furniture I bought, I said. I have all the receipts, the living room, the dining room, the bed, everything is in my name. Paid for with my credit card. No. Kavya screamed. This isn't fair. I spent 5 years of my life with you. 5 years being your wife. Taking care of this house. Taking care of this house. I repeated. Kavya, you haven't cooked in 2 years. We hired a cleaning service because you refused to clean. Your contributions consisted of spending my money on yoga classes and outings with friends. Kunal intervened. Mrs. Sharma, I have here the bank statements for the last 3 years. Your husband deposited his entire salary into the joint account. You regularly withdrew for personal expenses without contributing anything. That's because we agreed I wouldn't work, Kavya protested. So you could focus on what exactly? I asked. We never had children. You weren't studying anything. You didn't start any business. So what were you focusing on? Kavya had no answer. Vihan tried again. Listen, Rohan, be reasonable. Kavya deserves something. She's your wife. Ex-wife. I corrected. Or she will be soon. And she's right. She deserves something. She deserves exactly what she contributed. Nothing. Aryan finally spoke. Bro, this is petty. She made a mistake. Petty, I said, turning to him, is seducing a married woman, waiting outside the restaurant while she destroys her marriage. Pretending this is some great romantic love story when in reality you're a failure who couldn't even keep his first wife. Aryan's face turned red. You don't know anything about my life. I know your first wife, Sonia, left you because you were unfaithful. I know because Kavya told me years ago when she still trusted me. I thought it was a warning. It turns out it was an instruction manual. Kavya grabbed her phone. I'm going to call the police. Call them, I said. Explain to them how you entered a house that isn't yours with 2 men to intimidate me. I'm sure the officer will understand your position. Kunal added. I also have a temporary restraining order here. If Mrs. Sharma tries to return without Mr. Sharma's permission, she will be arrested. This is insane, Kavya shouted. You can't do this. I already did, I replied. Now you can take your clothes and leave peacefully, or I can have the police escort you out. Your choice. Kavya looked at me with pure hatred. I thought you were different. I thought you were a good man. I was a good man. I said, so good that I worked 60 hours a week to give you the life you wanted. So good that I never questioned your extravagant spending. So good that I believed every lie you told me. But it turns out being good just made me your fool. Vihan put his hand on Kavya's shoulder. Let's go. This guy isn't worth it. You're right, I said. I'm not worth it. That's why she's going back to a man who cheated on her with 3 different women during their relationship. Aryan exploded. That was years ago. I've changed. Of course you have, I replied. That's why your wife left you 3 months ago for all your changing. The 3 of them froze. I see he didn't tell you that part, Kavya. That Aryan is newly divorced. That Sonia left him for infidelity again. That the Mercedes out there is a rental because he's broke. That he's using you exactly like he used me. What are you talking about? Kavya asked weakly. I hired an investigator, I admitted, since last night. It turns out Aryan has quite a few secrets. I showed my phone with the report I had received that morning. Aryan Malhotra, divorced 3 months ago, owes $87,000 in credit card debt, was fired from his last job for harassing an employee, currently lives with his mother because he can't afford rent. That's a lie, Aryan said, but his voice lacked conviction. It's public record, said Kunal. Divorces are public records, lawsuits too. He pointed to the last page of the report. 3 different harassment lawsuits in the last 5 years, all settled out of court. Kavya looked at Aryan. You said you were going through a rough patch. A temporary rough patch. Kavya. Baby, can I explain? Don't call me baby, she screamed. You lied to me. You told me you were in a stable position, that we could have a life together. And you told me you had an unhappy marriage, Aryan countered. You said Rohan was boring and stingy, that he never appreciated you. Stingy, I repeated, the man who paid for your yoga classes, your outings, your shopping sprees, that stingy man. Vihan, try to get Kavya out of there. Let's go. Kavya, we can sort this out later. No, Kavya said, pulling away. Rohan, please, can we talk about this? Maybe I was hasty. Maybe we can try couples therapy. 24 hours ago, I was boring and predictable. I said a transition phase. Now that you've discovered Aryan is a fraud, you suddenly want therapy. The answer is no. But I love you, Kavya said and had the audacity to sound sincere. You love my financial stability, I corrected. You love having someone pay your bills while you pretend to find yourself. But real love, the kind of love that survives hard times. You never had that for me. Tears started running down her face. Please, Rohan, I have nowhere to go. I'm sure Aryan and his mother have space. I said, or your parents who were never convinced about me. Anyway, Kunal extended a folder. These are the divorce papers. You can review them with your own lawyer. You have 72 hours to respond, or we will proceed without your consent. Kavya took the folder with trembling hands. You're going to regret this, no, I said firmly. I regret the 5 years I wasted believing you were someone you weren't. I regret every sacrifice I made thinking we were building a future together. But this moment, I'm not going to regret. The three of them finally left. Kavya crying, Aryan furious, Vihan confused. I watched them from the window get into the rented Mercedes and drive away. Kunal closed his briefcase. That went better than expected. You did your homework. I learned from the best, I said. My father taught me that when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Kavya showed me exactly who she was. I just took notes. That night, alone in the house, I finally felt something. It wasn't sadness exactly. It was more like relief mixed with residual anger. 5 years of my life given to someone who saw me as a convenient option until something better came along. My phone rang. It was my mother. Rohan, I heard about Kavya. Are you okay? I'll be fine, Mom. I just need time. Your father and I never fully trusted her, she admitted. But we wanted you to be happy. I thought I was. I said, turns out I confused comfort with happiness. Come home this weekend, she said. Your father wants to see you. I promised I would. After hanging up, I checked my email. There was a message from an unknown address. The subject line said, I thought you should know this. Inside were photos. Kavya and Aryan. At our favorite restaurant, at the movie theater we used to go to, at the park where I proposed, all with dates from the last 2 months. The sender had added a note. I'm Sonia, Aryan's ex-wife. I saw your name on Kavya's divorce papers, and I wanted you to know that this has been going on for much longer than she admitted. Aryan did the same thing to me with Kavya years ago. Now he's doing the same thing to you with her. Be careful. He's dangerous when he doesn't get what he wants. I saved the photos. I didn't know if I would need them, but I had learned to document everything. The next day, I changed the locks, updated my will, canceled the joint credit cards. Every step was methodical, calculated. Kavya had planned her exit carefully. I was planning my recovery with the same precision. 2 days later, Kavya showed up at my office. How did you get in? I asked. I told the receptionist I was your wife. Technically, I still am. Technically, you're violating the restraining order that specifically states you can't contact me at my place of work. Rohan, please, just listen to me for 5 minutes. I looked at my watch. You have 3. I broke up with Aryan. You were right about everything. He's a liar and a fraud. I made a terrible mistake. And you want to come back? I guessed. Kavya nodded hopefully. We can start over. I'll go to therapy. I'll get a job. I'll prove I've changed. What part of no was unclear? I said, I don't want you back. I don't want to try again. I don't want to see you, except when absolutely necessary to finalize the divorce. But I love you, she protested. 3 days ago you loved Aryan. 3 months ago you probably loved someone else. Your love is conditional, Kavya. It depends on who can give you more at that moment. And now that Aryan turned out to be a fraud, you suddenly love me again. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, I said. But decisions have consequences. You chose Aryan. You chose to humiliate me in public. You chose to throw away 5 years of marriage for a fantasy. Now live with those choices. Please, she said, crying. I have no money. My parents won't talk to me. Vihan is furious. I have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before. My colleagues were starting to notice the scene. My boss, Mr. Patel, came out of his office. Everything okay here, Rohan? Everything is fine, I said. Mrs. Sharma was just leaving. Kavya looked at me desperately. Please don't do this. I called security. 2 guards appeared in minutes. This woman needs to be escorted from the building, and she should not be allowed back. Rohan, she shouted as the guards led her away. You're going to regret this. I swear. I doubt it, I said quietly, too quiet for her to hear. Mr. Patel invited me into his office. Marital problems. I'm in the process of a divorce, I explained. My wife had an affair and is now having buyer's remorse. I'm sorry to hear that, he said. But you handle pressure well. That's good. In fact, I wanted to talk to you about a new project. We spent the next hour discussing a large development in the north of the city. It was the kind of project that could advance my career significantly. As we talked, I realized something. Without Kavya draining my emotional and financial energy, I could focus completely on my work for the first time in years. That night, my friend Dev called me. Bro, I heard about Kavya. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry, I said. I should have seen it coming. I always knew she was materialistic, Dev admitted. But I thought she loved you enough to stay. She never loved me. I said, she loved what I could give her. There's a difference. We went out for a drink that night. Dev told me about his own relationship, his problems, his hopes. I realized that for 5 years I had been so consumed with making Kavya happy that I had neglected my friendships. A week later, I received the signed papers from Kavya. She had agreed to all my terms. No alimony, no division of assets, a clean divorce. Kunal called to confirm. She signed everything. Not even her lawyer could argue much, given that she didn't contribute financially to the marriage. It's officially over. I hung up and sat in silence. 5 years of my life, over with a signature on paper, but instead of sadness, I felt liberation. My mother called that night. Your father wants you to come for dinner this Sunday. He has something to tell you. I'll be there. I promised. On Sunday, I drove to my parents' house. It was a modest house where I had grown up, full of happy memories. My father was in the garden as always. Son, he said, hugging me. How are you really? Better than expected. I admitted. Dad nodded. Your mother told me about Kavya, about the divorce. I'm sorry you went through that, but maybe it was for the best. I never liked that girl. Too interested in material things. You should have told me, I said. I tried, he replied, but you were in love. Young men in love don't listen to wise parents. We went inside where my mother had prepared my favorite meal. During dinner, my father spoke. Rohan, I've been thinking. Your uncle's construction business is growing. He needs a partner, someone with civil engineering experience. I thought of you. Working with Uncle Rav would be good, said Dad. Change of scenery, better opportunities, and you'd be working in the family. I'll think about it, I promised. That night driving home, I considered the offer. A fresh start sounded appealing. 2 weeks later, while reviewing financial statements, I discovered something. Transactions I didn't recognize in our old joint account. Large withdrawals, all made the month before Kavya left me. I called the bank. Can you give me details on these transactions? The representative checked. They were all cash withdrawals, sir, made in person by the co-account holder. They totaled $42,000. Kavya had been systematically stealing from me before she left. I called Kunal immediately. Can you do anything about this? It's theft, he said. I can file criminal charges if you want, but you'll need to prove the money was exclusively yours. I have the bank statements showing I was the only one depositing money. Then yes, we can proceed. I couldn't sleep that night thinking about the additional betrayal. Not only had she left me, she had methodically stolen before she left. The coldness of her planning was impressive in its cruelty. The next day, Kunal filed the charges. The police contacted Kavya for questioning. She showed up at my house 2 days later, furious. How dare you press charges against me? That money was mine too. It was our joint account, I said. But I was the only one depositing money. Legally, it's theft. Are you crazy? She screamed. You're doing this for revenge. I'm doing this because you committed a crime. There's a difference. Are you going to drop the charges right now? No, I said. You're just going to face consequences for once in your life. Kavya's face went through several emotions. Shock, anger, fear, and finally, calculated desperation. Rohan, let's be reasonable. I used that money for household expenses. You can't prove I stole it. I have the receipts for every household expense. I said, electricity, water, internet, all paid with my personal credit card. $42,000 missing without justification. So where did the money go, Kavya? Her silence was answer enough. She finally spoke. I used it to help Aryan with his debts. I thought if I helped him we could start clean. So you stole my money to help the man you were cheating on me with. Kavya, honestly, you continue to surprise me. I wasn't cheating on you, she protested weakly. You were just planning it. I corrected for months, systematically withdrawing money, preparing to leave it all behind without consequences. Please, she begged, if this goes to court, my family will completely disown me. Vihan doesn't talk to me anymore. My parents closed the door when I showed up asking for help. I can't go to prison. Then give the money back. $42,000, every penny. And I'll drop the charges. I don't have it anymore, she admitted. Aryan used it to pay off his credit cards. Then he left me saying I was too much trouble. I leaned back on the couch watching her. The woman who had been my wife was now a desperate stranger standing in my living room. Part of me felt sorry. A very small part. The other part, the part that had worked 12-hour days to build our life, felt only cold satisfaction. Then you have a problem, I said. Because without the money, the charges proceed. Kavya dropped to her knees. Please, Rohan, I'll do anything, whatever you want. Anything. I want you to publicly admit what you did. What? She asked, confused. I want you to post on social media a full admission. The emotional affair with Aryan, the theft of the money, the manipulation, everything. Are you crazy? I'm not going to humiliate myself publicly. Then the court will be public anyway. I said, criminal records are public record. At least this way you control the narrative. Kavya stood up. You'd rather destroy me completely than let me go in peace. Destroy you. I repeated. Kavya, you destroyed yourself. I'm just making sure you face consequences. I called security. I have a trespasser. Wait, she shouted. I'll do it. I'll post whatever you want. Just give me time to write it. You have 24 hours. I said, and I need to approve it before you post. This is blackmail, isn't it? This is justice. Blackmail would be if I were asking you for money. I just want the truth exposed. Kavya left crying. Kunal, who had been listening from the kitchen, appeared. That was harsh. She stole $42,000, I said. To give it to her lover. Harsh would have been letting her get away with it. You're right, Kunal admitted. But are you sure you want to expose her publicly? It could get ugly. It's already ugly, I said. I'm just making sure the truth comes out. The 24 hours passed slowly. I wondered if Kavya would actually do it or if she would try to run. Exactly at 5 p.m. the next day, I received a message. It was a draft of a post. I read it carefully. I need to make a public confession. During the last few months of my marriage to Rohan Sharma, I maintained inappropriate contact with my ex-boyfriend. I took money from our joint account without permission to help this person. I betrayed the trust of a good man who only gave me love and stability. I accept full responsibility for my actions. Not enough, I replied. You need to be specific. How much money? How long did the contact last? The consequences of your actions. An hour later, I received a revised version. I need to make a public confession. During the last 3 months of my marriage to Rohan Sharma, I maintained emotional and romantic contact with my ex-boyfriend, Aryan Malhotra. I withdrew $42,000 from our joint account without Rohan's permission to help Aryan with his debts. I ended my marriage cruelly, telling Rohan on our anniversary that he was just a transition phase. I betrayed a man who worked tirelessly to give me a good life. I accept full responsibility. Rohan had every right to press charges. He only asked for the truth in exchange for dropping them. This is that truth. Approved. I replied. Post it now. I want a screenshot as proof. 10 minutes later. The post was live. The comments started immediately. Mutual friends expressing shock. Kavya's family expressing shame. Some defending her saying it was blackmail, but most condemning her. I screenshotted everything. Then I called Kunal. The confession is posted. Drop the charges. Are you sure? He asked. We could push for restitution of the money. The money is gone, I said, used by a fraud to pay his own debts. I'll never get it back. But this public admission, this will follow her. When she looks for future jobs, when she tries to have new relationships, this will exist. Kunal dropped the charges that afternoon. I sent confirmation to Kavya. I kept my word. The charges are dropped. Now leave me alone. Her reply was simple. I hate you. Good, I wrote. Hate is honest. It's more than you were during our marriage. The following days were strange. My life went on normally, work, home, routine. But something had fundamentally changed. I felt lighter, free. The weight of maintaining a fake marriage was gone. Dev invited me to a friend's gathering that Friday. Bro, you need to get out, meet new people. You've been cooped up since the divorce. I'm not ready to date, I said. I didn't say date, Dev said. I said meet people, friends. Reconnect with the world. I went reluctantly. The gathering was at a small bar. Several friends from college I hadn't seen in years. Laughter, stories, reminiscences. I realized how much I had neglected these friendships during my marriage. Rohan, said a friend named Neil. I heard about Kavya. I'm sorry, bro. I'm fine, I said. Really better than I've been in years. Neil nodded. I always thought she wasn't good enough for you. Too superficial. Neil's girlfriend, Prisha, chimed in. Men always think they know, but sometimes we need to learn our own lessons. She's right. I admitted. I needed to live this to understand it. Prisha smiled. At least you recognize it. A lot of men get stuck in the victim role. I'm not a victim, I said. I was a fool for a while, but not anymore. I drove home that night feeling genuinely happy for the first time in months. I had good friends, a stable job, freedom. The following month, I accepted my father's offer. I started working with my uncle Ravi. The change was refreshing. Different projects, different people, new challenges. My uncle was demanding, but fair. Rohan, he told me one day, your father says you went through a tough divorce. Yes, uncle, it was complicated. Marriage is complicated. He said, I was married twice. The first time I chose with my heart. It was a disaster. The second time I chose with my head. 30 happy years. The lesson is, the heart is a fool. The head knows better. I laughed. I'll remember that. 3 months after the divorce, I was checking emails when I saw one from Sonia, Aryan's ex-wife. Rohan, I hope you're doing well. I wanted you to know that Aryan was arrested. Financial fraud. Apparently, he was scamming several women by borrowing money with promises of relationships. One of them pressed charges. I thought you'd want to know. Kavya was probably one of his victims. I called Kunal too. Did you hear about Aryan Malhotra? Yes, he said. It's in the news pretty big. He scammed 8 different women, totaling almost $500,000. Kavya must be feeling stupid now. Probably, I said, but it's not my problem. I allowed myself a small smile that night. Kavya had thrown away a stable marriage for a criminal. The irony was delicious. 6 months after the divorce, my life had found a new rhythm. Fulfilling work, restored friendships, rediscovered hobbies. I had started going to the gym regularly, not for anyone else, but because I finally had time and energy for myself. At the gym I met someone, not romantically, just friendly. Her name was Mira. She was a lawyer, divorced too. Your ex left you for his ex, she asked after I shared my story. That's creatively horrible. Mine left me for his assistant, 20 years younger, very original. We laughed about our shared experiences. Mira became a good friend, someone who understood betrayal, but had chosen not to let it define her. One day, while we were having coffee after the gym, Mira asked, do you ever think about dating again? Sometimes, I admitted, but I'm in no rush. I'm enjoying discovering who I am without being in a couple. Wise, she said. I spent 2 years after my divorce jumping from relationship to relationship, trying to fill the void. It didn't work. So what did work? Therapy, she said honestly. A lot of therapy. Facing that I chose poorly because I had low self-esteem. Working on loving myself before loving someone else. I considered her words. Maybe I should try therapy. Can't hurt, Mira said. The worst that can happen is you learn something about yourself. I started therapy the following week. My therapist, Dr. Sharma, irony of the name, was direct. Why do you think you married someone who clearly didn't value what you offered? I thought I could make her happy. I said, I thought if I worked hard enough, if I gave enough, she would eventually love me the way I loved her. And now? She asked. Now I know that love isn't earned through sacrifice. It's given freely or not at all. We spent sessions exploring my patterns, how I had always been the giver in relationships, how I confused being needed with being loved, how my self-worth was tied to how much I could provide. The revelations were uncomfortable, but necessary. A year after the divorce, I received an unexpected call. It was Vihan, Kavya's brother. Rohan, I know you probably don't want to talk to me, but I need to tell you something. I'm listening. Kavya is in trouble. Serious trouble. I thought you should know what kind of trouble. Aryan convinced her to co-sign a loan before he was arrested. Now the bank is suing her for $120,000. And you're calling me why exactly? Because you're the only person I know with enough resources to help her. And because despite everything you were good to her. I could still be, Vihan, I said calmly. I appreciate the call, but no. Kavya made her choices. She signed that loan. She chose Aryan over me. These are her consequences, but she could lose everything. She already lost everything, I said when she betrayed me. I'm sorry, Vihan, but it's not my problem. I hung up. Dev, who was with me, whistled. Cold, bro, it's necessary, I said. If I help her now, she'll never learn. Besides, she already stole $42,000 from me. I'm not giving her another $120,000. You're right, Dev admitted. But it wasn't easy for you to say no. No, I said honestly. It wasn't easy, but it was right. I thought about the call that night. Part of me, a small part, wanted to help, not for Kavya, but because helping was my nature. But Dr. Sharma and I had worked on this. Helping people who don't want to help themselves is not kindness. It's enabling destructive behavior. I call my therapist. Doctor, I had a situation today. I told her about Vihan, about Kavya's debt, about my impulse to help despite everything. What do you want to do? She asked. I want not to feel guilty for not helping her. Then let's work on that. We spent the session exploring why I felt responsible for Kavya's bad decisions. Gradually, the guilt subsided. 2 weeks later, I heard from mutual friends that Kavya had declared bankruptcy. Her credit ruined, her assets seized, her reputation destroyed. Some friends asked me if I felt satisfied. I didn't feel satisfaction, I told them honestly. Just relief that it wasn't my problem to solve. A year and a half after the divorce, my life had reached a stability I never thought possible. The business with my uncle was thriving. We had landed 3 large contracts. My bank account, which Kavya had systematically drained, now showed healthy savings. One afternoon, while reviewing blueprints in the office, my assistant knocked on the door. Mr. Sharma, there's a woman here who says she needs to speak with you urgently. She doesn't have an appointment. Name? I asked without looking up. She says it's Dila Patel. I didn't know any Dila Patel. Tell her to make a proper appointment, sir. She says it's about Kavya Sharma, your ex-wife. My hand paused over the blueprints. Fine. 5 minutes. Dila Patel walked in nervously. She was young, maybe 25, professionally dressed, but with tired eyes. Mr. Sharma, thank you for seeing me. You have 4 minutes now, I said. Dila sat down quickly. I used to work for an accounting firm. Kavya Sharma hired me 6 months ago to help with her bankruptcy. During the process, I discovered something I think you should know. I'm listening. She forged documents during your divorce. Specifically, she hid a bank account with $53,000. That account had money you deposited, but that she secretly transferred before the assets were frozen. I leaned back in my chair. Go on. Dila took out a folder. I have copies. I know I shouldn't have them. I violated client-accountant confidentiality by bringing them. But when I looked into your case, I saw what she did to you. It wasn't right, and now she's trying to declare bankruptcy on debts she created with money she stole from you. Why are you telling me this? Because Kavya asked me to forge more documents. She wanted me to make it look like you owed her alimony. When I refused, she fired me. She threatened to ruin my career if I talked. I opened the folder. Inside were bank statements showing systematic transfers to an account in the name of a Maya Sharma. Who is Maya Sharma? Kavya's sister, Dila said, younger by 2 years. Kavya used her account to hide money during the divorce. The sister she never mentioned in 5 years of marriage. They're not that close, Dila explained. But Maya needed money for surgery. Kavya offered to help in exchange for using her account temporarily, $53,000. Money that legally should have been divided in the divorce. I called Kunal immediately. I need you to come to my office. Now, when he arrived, I showed him the documents. This is fraud, Kunal said after reviewing everything. Serious fraud. We can reopen the divorce case, sue for the money, press criminal charges. All of the above. Dila looked relieved. I did the right thing by coming. Yes, I said. You did, and I'm going to make sure Kavya doesn't ruin your career. Kunal was already making calls. I couldn't sleep that night. Another layer of betrayal revealed. Kavya hadn't just left me. She hadn't just stolen from our joint account. She had systematically hidden assets. She had planned to leave me with nothing while securing her own future. The coldness of her planning was terrifying. 2 days later, Kunal had prepared all the documents. We have enough for criminal charges and a civil lawsuit. What do you want to do? I want every penny she stole from me, I said, and I want her to face legal consequences. Let's go to court. The process was quick, with the evidence Dila provided, plus our own bank records. Kavya's case collapsed. Her lawyer tried to argue the money was a gift to her sister. Kunal destroyed that argument by showing the transfers began exactly when Kavya started her affair with Aryan. This was deliberate planning to defraud Mr. Sharma. The judge, a woman in her 50s with a stern expression, listened to everything without emotion. Mrs. Sharma, she said finally, I find that you deliberately hid assets during your divorce, forged documents, committed fraud. These are serious offenses. Kavya, sitting on the other side of the courtroom, looked haggard. She had lost weight. Her clothes, once always designer, were now simple and worn. Please, Your Honor, she cried. I made mistakes, but I was desperate. You were desperate, the judge repeated, desperate enough to steal from your husband who was working to support you. Desperate enough to hide money in secret accounts. Desperate enough to forge documents, but not desperate enough to simply get an honest job. Kavya had no answer. The judge continued, I rule in favor of Mr. Sharma. Mrs. Sharma must return $53,000 plus interest, totaling $62,000. Additionally, a fine of $30,000 for fraud and 6 months of probation. If she violates the terms of her probation, she will face prison time. Kavya collapsed in tears. Her lawyer tried to comfort her, but it was useless. $92,000 she didn't have, probation that would limit every aspect of her life. I walked out of the courtroom, finally feeling like justice had been served. Outside, Dila was waiting for me. Thank you for protecting my confidentiality during the testimony. You did the right thing. I said, that takes courage. She smiled weakly. I hope I can get another job soon. My reputation is a bit damaged. Give potential employers my number, I said. I'll tell them exactly what kind of character you have. That night Dev came over to celebrate. Bro, it's finally over. Complete justice almost, I said. She still needs to pay the money. She probably never will, Dev admitted. She's bankrupt. She has no job. She has nothing. I know, I said. But at least it's on record. Her fraud is documented. That's worth more than the money. 2 weeks later, I received a certified letter from Kavya. I opened it expecting some plea or threat, but it was different. Rohan, the letter said in shaky handwriting. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I'm not asking for it. I just want you to know that I finally understand what I lost. Not the money or the house or the stability. I lost someone who loved me unconditionally, someone who would have done anything for me. And I threw it all away for fantasies and selfishness. Aryan used me, took my money, your money, and disappeared. My parents disowned me. Vihan barely speaks to me. I have no friends. I have no future. I destroyed my own life chasing something that was never real. I don't expect your sympathy. I just wanted you to know that you were right about everything. I was selfish, cruel, and stupid. I lost the best man I will ever know. I hope you find happiness with someone who values you as you deserve. I'm sorry for everything, Kavya. I read the letter twice, then folded it and put it away. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel pity. I just felt closure. I called Dr. Sharma. Doctor, I received a letter from Kavya apologizing, acknowledging everything. How does that make you feel? She asked empty. I admitted. I thought I would feel vindicated, but I just feel like 5 years of my life were wasted on someone who never valued me. Those 5 years taught you what you don't want. That's a valuable lesson. I suppose 3 months later life had returned to its new normal. Work, gym, therapy, friends. Simple but fulfilling. Mira invited me to a dinner party. Rohan, there's someone I want you to meet. My cousin Sambi is a doctor. Divorced too, I thought maybe you two would get along. I'm not looking to date, I protested. It's not a date, Mira said, just dinner. 3 people, conversation, but if there's chemistry, who knows? I went reluctantly. Sambi was pretty in a quiet way, intelligent, funny. We talked for hours about everything except our exes. By the end of the night, I realized I had genuinely enjoyed myself. Sambi gave me her number. If you ever want to get coffee, no pressure. I called her 3 days later. We started seeing each other casually. Coffees, dinners, walks. Nothing serious, just 2 people enjoying each other's company. A month later, Sambi asked, do you ever talk about your ex? Sometimes, I admitted. In therapy. Why? Because I need to make sure you've really healed. I don't want to be your rebound. You're not. I said honestly. My ex taught me what I don't want. You're showing me what I do want. What do you want? Someone who values me, who is honest, who builds with me instead of taking from me. Sambi smiled. That sounds reasonable. 6 months later, Sambi and I were an official couple. We didn't rush. We didn't force anything. We just let the relationship develop naturally. She was different from Kavya in every way. Sambi paid her own way, contributed equally, communicated openly. One day, while we were having dinner, Sambi said, I met your ex Kavya. How? I asked, surprised. She came to the clinic where I work, a regular patient. I can't discuss medical details, but I can say she's not well. She's getting help. I hope she gets better, I said honestly. But it's not my responsibility to make sure. Sambi nodded. I just thought you should know she seems genuinely sorry for what she did. Remorse doesn't erase actions, I said. But I hope she finds peace eventually. Just not with me. 2 years after the divorce. I proposed to Sambi. Simple, private, no drama. She said yes. We got married 6 months later. Small ceremony. Just close family and friends. During the vows, as I looked at Sambi, I realized something. Kavya leaving me was the best thing that could have happened to me. It forced me to face my patterns, to value myself, to demand reciprocity in relationships. Without that painful betrayal, I would never have found this genuine happiness. The past is the past, I said in my vows. The future begins now with you, with honesty, with true love. Sambi cried. I almost cried. It was perfect in a way my first marriage never was. After the ceremony, my father hugged me. I'm proud of you, son. Not just for finding Sambi, for how you handled everything with Kavya, with dignity, without revenge, with justice. Thanks, Dad. That night, on our modest honeymoon, Sambi asked, do you ever think about Kavya? Honestly, almost never. Good, she said, because this is our story now. The past is a lesson, the future is a choice, and I choose you every day. 3 years after the divorce, I received an unexpected call. It was Vihan, Kavya's brother, someone I hadn't spoken to since I refused to help with Kavya's debts. Rohan, I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but I need you to listen. I'm listening. I said cautiously. Kavya is in the hospital. Suicide attempt. She's stable, but she needs intensive psychiatric help. Insurance doesn't cover everything. Her parents have completely disowned her. I don't have the resources. I'm sorry to hear that, I said honestly. But it's not my responsibility, Vihan. I told you that years ago. I know, he said. I'm not asking for money. I just wanted you to know. I thought you deserved to know. After all, you were important to her. Once I hung up feeling disturbed. Sambi, who had overheard the conversation, hugged me. It's okay to feel empathy without feeling responsibility. Kavya made her choices. The consequences were severe, but they're not yours to carry. You're right, I said. But it makes me think. I had planned to leave everything behind. Never look back. But maybe I need one final closure, a different kind of closure. What do you have in mind? Sambi asked. I want to write her a letter. Not of forgiveness. Not of reconciliation, just of closure for both of us. That night I wrote, Kavya, I heard about your situation. I'm sorry things came to this point. I'm not going to help financially. That part of our relationship ended years ago. But I want you to know something. I forgive you. Not because you deserve it. Not because what you did was okay. But because holding a grudge was hurting me more than it was hurting you. I forgive you for the infidelity, for the theft, for the lies, for wasting 5 years of my life. I forgive you because I need to set myself completely free. This forgiveness doesn't mean I've forgotten. It doesn't mean I want reconnection. It simply means I'm letting go of the weight of your betrayal. I've found real happiness married to someone who values me, building a life I never imagined possible during our marriage. Your betrayal, paradoxically, freed me to find this. I hope you find peace. I hope you seek the help you need. I hope you learn from your mistakes and build a better life. But that life does not include me as a partner, as a friend, or as a lifeline. This is a final goodbye. Take care, Rohan. I sent the letter to the hospital via Vihan. I never received a reply. I didn't expect one. 2 weeks later, Vihan called again. Kavya read your letter. She cried for hours, but I think it gave her some peace. She's accepting treatment, a long rehabilitation, but she's trying. I'm glad, I said sincerely. Everyone deserves a second chance to better themselves. Thank you, Rohan, for the letter, for the closure. I know you didn't know her anything. I hung up feeling finally, completely free. 6 months later, Sambi announced she was pregnant. The news filled me with joy mixed with terror. I'm going to be a dad, I told my father. How do I not panic? You panic, he said, laughing. Then you get over it, and you do your best. That's all any father can do. Our son Arjun was born in the spring. Perfect, healthy. When I held him for the first time, I cried. I thought, this is what I was meant to do, not the life I planned with Kavya, but this real, honest life, full of genuine love. During paternity leave, I reflected on the whole failed marriage with Kavya, the brutal divorce, the betrayal revealed layer by layer, the legal battles, the final forgiveness. It had all been necessary. It had all brought me here. One day, while Arjun slept in my arms, Sambi asked, do you have any regrets? About what? About how you handled everything with Kavya. It was harsh, public. Some would say cruel. No, I said without hesitation. It was just. It wasn't revenge, it was justice. She stole, she lied, she defrauded, she faced appropriate consequences. If I had been lenient, if I had let her get away with it, she would never have learned and I would never have fully healed. Sammy nodded. That's why I love you. Your sense of justice, your refusal to be a victim, your ability to forgive without forgetting. 5 years after the divorce, I had built a life Kavya never valued. A new house, smaller than the old one, but filled with real love. A thriving business with my uncle. A healthy marriage based on mutual respect. A beautiful son, deep friendships, peace of mind. One Saturday, while playing with Arjun at the park, I saw someone familiar. Kavya. She was thinner, older than her years suggested. She was working selling ice cream from a cart. Our eyes met briefly. She looked like she wanted to talk, but I shook my head gently and walked away. There was nothing to say, nothing to reconcile, just two strangers whose paths had crossed and diverged. That night, Sambi noticed my silence. You saw Kavya today? How do you know? I know you. What did you feel? Pity. I admitted, not for myself, for her. She destroyed her life, chasing a fantasy. Now she's living with the consequences, but also gratitude. If she hadn't betrayed me, I wouldn't have this. You, Arjun. This life. Sambi kissed me. Everything happens for a reason. Her betrayal was your liberation. My 15th career anniversary in civil engineering came that year. My uncle organized a celebration. Colleagues, clients, friends, all celebrating shared success. During my speech, I thanked everyone, especially those who supported me during difficult times. My father, my uncle Kunal, my lawyer, Dev, my friend, and Sambi, my wife, who showed me that true love exists. I didn't mention Kavya. She was a closed chapter, a lesson learned, nothing more. Afterward, my father took me aside. Son, I'm proud of the man you've become. Not just professionally, personally. A lot of men would have been bitter after what Kavya did. You chose to grow. Thanks, Dad. Your example taught me that character is measured in adversity. That night, putting Arjun to bed, I told him a simple story. Once upon a time, there was a man who thought he knew what he wanted, but life showed him he was wrong. He lost something he thought was valuable, but he found something much better, and he lived happily ever after. The end. Arjun, at 6, asked, Dad, is that story about you? Maybe, I said, smiling, or maybe it's about anyone who learns from their mistakes. 7 years after the divorce, my life was unrecognizable compared to those dark days. Arjun was 5. Smart, curious, loved. Sambi and I had bought a larger house. The business with my uncle had expanded. 3 offices, 20 employees, government contracts, stability I never imagined. One ordinary Tuesday, I received a certified mail sender Kavya Sharma. My first impulse was to throw it away unopened, but Sambi, always wiser, said, open it, it might be important. Inside was a brief letter and a legal document. The letter said, Rohan, it's been years. I've been in intensive therapy, working on myself, understanding why I did what I did. Low self-esteem, need for external validation, deep selfishness. I don't expect forgiveness. You already gave me that years ago. I don't expect reconnection. I know that's permanently over. I just want you to know I've been paying off the debt, $50 a month for these 7 years. I know it's not enough. I know at this rate it would take decades, but it's what I can do. I'm enclosing this official waiver of any claim on you, property, alimony, anything. Legally signed. I also want you to know I'm engaged. A good man, hardworking, knows me completely, my mistakes, my flaws, and accepts me anyway. We're building a simple, honest life. It's not glamorous, but it's real. Thank you for the hard lesson. I needed to learn it. I hope you're happy. Really, Kavya, the legal document officially waived any claims. Signed, notarized, final. I showed everything to Kunal. This is legitimate, he said. She's tying up all the legal loose ends, probably her therapist's advice. Final closure for both of you. What do you want to do? Sambi asked. About what the $50 payments. That's an insult considering what she owes. It's not an insult. I said, it's what she can do. She's probably sacrificing to pay that. I don't need the money. I needed justice. I already got it. Then forgive the debt. No, I said. The debt remains on record. But I'm not going to force collection. If she wants to pay $50 a month out of pride, let her, but I don't need to chase her. Sambi smiled. That's why I love you. Justice with mercy. That night, I wrote a brief reply. Kavya, I acknowledge your letter. I accept the legal waiver. Regarding the debt, I will not force collection. You can continue to pay if it helps your process, or you can stop. It no longer matters financially. I'm glad you're building an honest life. We all deserve a second chance to get it right. I wish you the best genuinely. Rohan, I sent the letter. I closed that chapter permanently. 2 years later, the 9th anniversary of the divorce, Sambi and I celebrated our 5th wedding anniversary. Simple dinner, no drama, just love. Arjun stayed with my parents. We enjoyed a quiet evening. During dinner, Sambi said, "You know what's ironic? Kavya betraying you was the best gift she could have given you. Without that betrayal, you would never have found me. You would never have worked on yourself. You would never have built this life." You're right, I admitted. That pain was necessary for this growth. I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone, but I wouldn't change the outcome either. That night, driving home, we passed by the neighborhood where I lived with Kavya. The house had been sold years ago. A new family lived there now, children playing in the garden I used to maintain. I felt no nostalgia, just gratitude that that chapter was closed. 10 years after the divorce, Arjun was 8. One day he asked, "Dad, is Mom your first wife?" "No, son. I was married before." "What happened?" "It didn't work out. She and I wanted different things. We separated. Then I found your mom." "Do you love her more than the first wife?" "I love her differently," I explained. "A mature love, based on respect, on sharing, on building together." Arjun nodded, processing. "I'm going to get married someday." "Maybe," I said, "if you find someone who values you, who is honest, who builds with you, then yes, but never settle for less." That night Sambi and I talked. "Did you ever think you'd be here married, a father, successful? After everything with Kavya?" "No," I admitted. "I thought that divorce would destroy me, but it rebuilt me better. That's why I always say, she did me a favor by leaving me." 14 years after the divorce, I received news that Kavya had died, not from violence, from illness, cancer. Vian called to inform me. "I thought you should know. She talked about you occasionally, with respect, with regret, but also with gratitude that you moved on." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said honestly. "She was young. She had a life ahead of her." "I know," Vihan said, "but she lived better her last few years, married, stable, at peace with herself. Your letter years ago, the forgiveness, helped her heal." "I'm glad," I said. "Everyone deserves peace." "Funeral's this Saturday," Vihan informed. "I don't expect you to come, but you're invited if you want to." I thought carefully. "I'll go," I decided. Not for Kavya, for me. Full final closure. On Saturday, Sambi came with me. The funeral was small. Vihan, Kavya's parents, her husband, few friends. When they saw me, there was a momentary tension. Then Kavya's parents approached. "Mr. Sharma," her father said, "thank you for coming. I know our daughter hurt you deeply." "She did," I said, "but I learned from that experience. It made me a better man. I hope she finds peace." During the service, I heard stories about Kavya I never knew, her volunteer work in her last few years, her brutal honesty about her past mistakes, her genuine transformation. Part of me was glad she had changed. Another part was sad that it took so much pain for that change. Afterward, Kavya's husband approached. "You're Rohan. Kavya told me all about you, about how she hurt you, about how the justice you sought forced her to face her demons." "Thank you for that." "You don't need to thank me," I said. "She made choices. She faced consequences. She changed. That was all her. She didn't insist. Your refusal to rescue her forced her to save herself. Without that, she would have continued destroying lives. Mine included. You showed her who she really was before we got married. We appreciate that forced honesty." Driving home, Sambi asked, "How are you feeling?" "At peace," I said. "Finally, completely." Kavya lived. She changed. She died having found some redemption. I lived. I grew. I found real happiness. There are no villains in this story anymore, just imperfect people learning hard lessons. That night, I held Sambi and Arjun close, my real family, built on truth, sustained by mutual respect, strengthened by genuine love. Kavya's betrayal 15 years ago had destroyed me temporarily, but from those ashes I built better, stronger, more authentic. I wouldn't change a thing. Every pain taught a lesson. Every tear strengthened character. Every betrayal revealed a truth. Today I look back with no resentment. Kavya was a necessary chapter, painful but educational. She taught me what I don't want. She forced me to value myself. She prepared me to recognize true love when it appeared. For that, paradoxically, I'm grateful to her. Not for the betrayal, but for the liberation it finally brought. Sambi kissed me. What are you thinking about? How lucky I am. I said. To have survived the storm, to have found a safe harbor, to have built a life worth living, and to have a family that makes it all meaningful. Arjun interrupted the moment. Dad, can we watch a movie? Sure, son, I said, picking him up. What do you want to watch? Something happy, he said. Something with a happy ending. Something happy with a happy ending. I repeated, looking at Sambi. That I can do that night. The three of us snuggled on the couch watching a movie. I knew with certainty this was my happy ending, not the one I planned, not the one I expected, but the one I deserved and the one I finally, truly appreciated. Watch this story and reflect. Did you ever trust someone who betrayed you completely? Did you make the mistake of giving everything without receiving anything in return? Rohan's story shows us that sometimes losing what we thought was valuable leads us to find what really matters. Betrayals hurt, but they also liberate. What do you think of how Rohan handled his divorce? Was he too harsh with Kavya, or was he just seeking justice? What would you have done in his place? Let me know in the comments. If this story resonated with you in any way, share your experience below, and don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for joining me until here.